Hello, friends. Today we're going to talk about how to supercharge your brain with happiness neurochemicals. So, I want you to consider this when you're feeling better physically, you're feeling better mentally, you sleep better, you're brighter, you're more alive, you perform better at work, and you're more emotionally available for your family and your friends, the people who matter most to you. So those things I'm just talking about and just described, the better sleep, you're feeling good emotionally and physically, that's a pathway to thriving and really living, not just surviving. No one wants to just be in survival mode for sure. And let's face it, there is a lot going on in the world today, and it's causing many of us to have unhealthy levels of anxiety and stress. And too much stress and too much anxiety are definitely not good for your health. And I can speak from personal experience. Unhealthy levels of stress and a lack of sleep, not getting in any self-care, they were all triggers for my early stage diabetes to kick in. And stress can really trigger a lot of health issues. And you probably know this, but let me just do a recap. Anxiety disorders. Chronic stress keeps the amygdala on overdrive, right? So that can lead to some anxiety disorders. Depression, prolonged cortisol from stress, that can deplete serotonin and dopamine. Cognitive decline and memory problems. I think we've all experienced this when we're stressed out and we can't remember something. It's hard to solve problems. That's because stress damages the hippocampus, and that impacts your learning and your recall. Sleep disorders, insomnia, all of these things are related, stress-related hormones. It disrupts your circadian rhythm. You all know what that feels like. You're stressed out and you can't sleep when probably sleep is what you need the most at that moment. And then there's a bunch of other things like heart and circulatory system issues. High blood pressure, we all know that is connected to unhealthy levels of stress. And it's because there's constant adrenaline and cortisol running in your system, and that constructs your blood vessels. Heart disease, arrhythmias, that's just a short list. It goes on and on. Stress also weakens your immune system. It makes us more prone to illness. It fuels inflammation. So you get the gist of it. Stress is really, it's no joke. It's something that we need to manage. And it's part of the reason why I started Art, Body, and Soul. I just really care about people living their best life. And I know that sounds, everyone says, yeah, live your best life. But I want people to thrive. It's just who I am intrinsically. In this episode, I'm going to talk about 3 things you can do to supercharge your brain to actively work on your wellness and get out of that burnout, overstressed, anxiety-riddled state. And we're going to talk about making small, doable shifts that can move you more toward thriving. You can take your wellness into your own hands, and it doesn't have to be a life overhaul. Trust me, it doesn't have to be a life overhaul. And you probably have heard the lineup of happiness chemicals that I've been referring to, and that's dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins. These are your body's built-in feel-good squad, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. And I'm going to do that by sharing 3 concepts with you. These 3 concepts are reflection and gratitude, doing a self-care check-in and actually recording it, and a wild card goal reflection. And you might be giving me an eye roll right now because you've heard about gratitude, but I want you to stick with me because these 3 small things that I'm talking about can be a pathway to brighter moods, better sleep, overall healthier you. But before we dig into that, I want to talk about my struggles in health and with journaling. I was the poster child for health and wellness at one point in my life. But years of being burnt out from the hustle culture in corporate America or corporate style culture in government just put me in a state of burnout. And I went from being an elite level athlete in CrossFit, competing internationally, finishing 122 in the world out of 8,000 women in my age category, to being someone who gained 30 plus pounds. I got stressed out. I wasn't sleeping. I developed early stage diabetes. All the things I had helped people with as a CrossFit coach for years get out of that state. And that was all a result of the hustle culture and really just doing too much all the time. And right now, with AI being so prolific in society today, I think that the hustle culture is even more pronounced because we're all being asked to perform at such higher levels. And if we can use the tools at our hands judiciously, I think we can get to a state of better health, leveraging the things around you in business to decrease stress. The other thing I want to share is journaling. So I didn't think I was a good journaler. And I bet there's a number of you who don't think that you are either and that you just can't do it. I used to think that journaling was this proper sit down where I had to write a soulful story about my day. Essentially, write love letters to myself. That's just not me. And it doesn't have to be that way. Journaling does not have to look like that. So I want you to stick with me when I talk about journaling and writing things down in these 3 concepts we're going to talk about today. But I want to share something with you that's funny. Even though I thought, I can't journal, I just can't do it. I actually love journals. Sounds crazy, right? I can't journal, but I love journals. I keep them for lists, recording my workouts, jotting down ideas, recipes, doodling while I talk on the phone to people, because yes, I still like to talk to people on the phone. And I stumbled across this alternate way of journaling, and I call it flow journaling, and I adapted it for people like me. I even published a couple of journals that teach you how to write down the good stuff and let go of the idea that you need to write a novel every day. It's simple. You use one notebook for everything, for gratitude, goals, notes, workouts, lists, everything all in the same place. Which leads to the first thing I want you to consider doing to supercharge your brain with happiness neurochemicals, and that's gratitude spotting. So this has been on my radar since 2020 when I took a class at Yale called The Science of Well-Being. And this is where you train your brain to see micro moments in your life and then reflect on them. And this sparks dopamine and serotonin in your brain. These are your mood stabilizers, your joy boosters. So gratitude journaling has been shown to improve sleep, it reduces stress, and it strengthens the recovery after trauma. Now, I'm not saying that a gratitude journal is going to solve all of your problems because you wrote something down you were grateful for, but I want you to know that these are not just words on a page. They're a daily reset for your body chemistry. And here's a cool fact. When you reflect on a positive experience, your brain doesn't know the difference between remembering it and experiencing it in real time. It still releases those feel-good neurochemicals. The reflection basically gives your brain a second dose of happiness. And I think that's a good thing. The reflections, they don't have to be monumental. It could be as simple as somebody at the help desk responded to you super quickly and saved your project. Or maybe it's the fact that you have a job that you're grateful for, you have a home, a comfy bed, very simple things, good food in your kitchen. These are simple things that can get you in the habit of spotting gratitude in your life or things that you have gratitude for. And it can build up over time, and you may start to notice things more. That's why it's gratitude spotting. And here's something that I want you to consider. When you write something down that you're grateful for, don't just write it down and go, okay, I'm grateful for XYZ. Stop for just a second or two and play a little movie in your brain and remember something about what is triggering you to feel grateful. And that little movie in your brain can be just 2 or 3 seconds. And this is a really great way to start to get all of those happy chemicals firing in your brain. Science research shows that if you write down something you're grateful for 5 times a week for just 21 days, you start to rewire your brain towards wellness. So if you've been suffering from some anxiety, you've been feeling stressed out, maybe you're a little depressed, this is something good that you could work into your daily habit. And it's part of the reason why I'm kicking off a 21-day challenge to rewire your brain, to reset your energy for well-being. And I'll share more about that at the end of this episode, and it'll be on my website. But I want to move on to concept number 2. So number 1 was gratitude spotting, right? So we want to do that. That was number 1. Number 2 is a self-care check-in. So next up, we'll talk about how you need to invest in self-care, because if you're going to record your self-care, you actually have to invest in it. You have to do something for yourself. And think about this. Self-care does not have to be cookie cutter. It looks very different for every single one of us. But I want you to really think about how you're caring for yourself on a daily basis and write that down at least 5 times a week for 21 days. So here are some ideas for you to think about to get your self-care actions going. So maybe you need to drink more water and you know that. And a lot of people know they need to get water in every day, but you might not realize why it is so important to be properly hydrated. It's because for just one of the reasons, your organs perform well. Your kidneys alone, if you didn't know this, filter about 200 liters of fluid every day. Hydration keeps that process clean and efficient. Your brain is roughly 75% water, and mild dehydration, just a simple 1 to 3%, can impair your memory. It affects your focus and your mood. It can trigger irritability and brain fog. Dehydration can even spike cortisol, that stress hormone that we get away from that comes with the environments that we're working in today. So hydration matters, but so does sleep, so does nutrition, so does movement, so does connection. So maybe your self-care today looks like getting 8 hours of sleep. You can read a book, listen to a podcast, take a walk at lunch, cook a healthy meal, add more fish to your diet, make that first call to go to therapy, or just connect with friends. Because let's be clear, connecting with people in person is really important. We should not be living 100% in a virtual world. Being with people makes a difference. The point is, you need to commit and reflect on one thing you did for your body or your mind each day. Even small acts like stretching, drinking water before you have that first sip of coffee, ignoring email for 5 minutes, doing a little digital detox. These release endorphins, your natural mood lifters. Daily micro moves matter more than big, grand gestures. So consistency. All right, so number 3, wild card goal reflection. The third action that I want you to think about is writing down 1 or 2 sentences a day about a personal or professional goal that you have going on. And do this 5 days a week for 21 days. And these goals, I call them the wild card. It's the wild card goals because they can change. Each day, each week, everything's dynamic. So, for example, I took a trip and I was on a lot of tour buses multiple times on this trip. I ate sugar, I think 3 or 4 times in about 8 days. And that's a lot for me given my early stage diabetes. And I only managed to get in focused exercise 2 times. And I am definitely a 5-day-a-week gal. So after I came back from that trip, my goal was to get back into my healthy movement and nutritional patterns. The other goal I had when I came back was make sure that I do all of the things that are the hardest things that I think suck, that I don't really want to do, tackle them first thing in the day, just get them out of the way. Reflecting on these goals, writing them down in a journal or wherever you're going to write it down, it could be a simple scrap of paper, just a piece of paper out of your printer. That ties us back to our values and our sense of purpose. And that taps into your oxytocin, which is the chemical of connection and meeting. So when you do this consistently, you're reshaping your brain towards resilience. So here is your 21-day experiment. Grab any notebook. It can be a $2 composition book. Maybe it's a fancy leather journal you've had in the back of your office that you've just been waiting to use. Or you could even buy one of mine at artbodyandsoul.com. Just commit to writing down these 3 prompts each day for 21 days. Gratitude spotting, self-care check-in, wildcard goal reflection. And at the end, check in with yourself. Notice your mood, your energy, your sleep, your overall vibe. How are you vibing? That reflection is the reset your brain probably has been craving. You don't need fancy hacks to supercharge your brain with happiness neurochemicals. You just need to take some time to notice and jot down what you're seeing in your life. So when that happens, you are going to be in most likely a better place than you were before. Okay, that's a wrap. As I promised you, I was going to share this 21-day challenge, which is I've formalized as the 21-day energy reset. It will supercharge your brain with these happiness neurochemicals. It gets your body in feeling better and really building on some regular habits that will help you get to this state of thriving and out of just surviving. And consistency is really important. It's 21 days specifically because that's what you need to start building good patterns and habit stacking. So it'll be starting in the first part of September after the Labor Day weekend. It's totally free. I'm going to be hosting group check-ins if that's something that you want to take part in. There'll be free workouts. I have a bunch of recipes, some playlists, some free meditations, and it's all going to be for 21 days. You get personal access to me over the 21 days where I'm going to be responding in a group conversation. And this is all in my app that you can find at artbodyandsoul.com to sign up. And yeah, it's going to be a good thing. I hope you'll join me for that. And if you don't join me for the 21-day energy reset, you can just take this into your own hands and start doing these journal prompts today. And the 21-day challenge that I'm launching, that'll be evergreen. I'll keep that going so that you always have access to that and you can start at any time because I am a big believer in helping other people make the world a better place. And I thank you so much for listening to my podcast. I really appreciate you being here today.